Hi, everybody. Jack O'Malley back with you. I missed you on Friday. I had a great update for Wednesday, but for some reason, well, I can tell you why. I was unable to post it, and I put out a message yesterday through one of my guys that I was unable to post, and it was hilarious. All the people who thought Mark Zuckerberg was out to get me. But I guess it turned out to be a bit of operator error. People more knowledgeable than I guess Facebook wants you to use a two level authorization so they know it's you. And I had it set up to just a one form of ID. So anyway, we got it set, and hopefully I'm recording this one and it will post without any issues. So. It's just an FYI. No, it does not appear to be a conspiracy to keep me off Facebook anyway. So, but I did get a laugh out of some of those comments. All right. Some big things to talk about here today. Let's start with the revelations about the governor's trip to Florida. Now, just in general, and again, hear me out before you start keyboard pounding, but realistically, I don't have a problem if the governor goes to see her ailing dad in Florida. I really don't. And actually that's what a good child should do, right? The problem is that for months she had been telling people they couldn't see their loved ones, even though they were sick and in many cases dying, right? Or that elderly couple are not able to go into a hospital. The spouse is not able to go sit with their elderly spouse who they've been with for 40 or 50 years. Why? Because of pandemic rules and all of that stuff. So, was the governor able to skirt these rules because she's the governor and did it in the cover of darkness? That's a problem. The other issue is, how did she get there? I doubt the governor flew commercial, right? I wouldn't want to fly commercial, especially as she mentions here, she's got some safety issues and concerns with former past stories, and we all know about that. So I don't begrudge her the safety. I get that. So flying commercial, I get. I doubt she drove. She says she was only there 2 days, but now a reporter has some evidence that says she was there actually 4. So I doubt she drove. So then that probably means she flew private. So the question is, did she charter a plane? If she did, I guess in theory that's fine. But it appears that some donors gave her that plane. So then the question is, did she pay for it out of her campaign fund, which she shouldn't, and can't do? Is it a gift of, upwards to 40 grand? Those are issues that need to be discussed, not to mention the fact that she did it before spring break when people weren't necessarily paying attention, because she was able to say, well, I was here during spring break, and she was. But she snuck out a couple of months earlier. And she also came back and told, when she was back, she was asking people not to travel out of state. She wasn't vaccinated at the time. There's just a myriad of issues here that stink. And she's denying it and not talking about it. That's just wrong. And it's just another case of a very hypocritical governor. And, there's a couple of sayings that pop into my head. One, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And our governor, with her misuse of the laws that are on the books, has absolute power. That corrupts absolutely. And there's another. Oh, the webs we weave when we practice to deceive. I believe the governor is in hot water, and it's of her own. The pot is of her own making, and we'll see how this all moves forward. I really do. Because I want to go back to something else from a week ago. Remember, we had former Director Gordon in about the hush money and the severance pay and all of that, right? Why is that? Why'd she do that? Did that quietly too. So lots of issues there, and I'm going to get back to so. The governor's trip is a very interesting thing. She's kind of running from it and hiding from it. That means they're scrambling. Even if she did it, you know what? Own it. Fess up to it. But she's not. So It's yeah. Pay attention to this plane trip. It's a big deal. It really is. Maybe all of it was quote legal, but from the hypocritical standard, whew, man, it's a felony. It is a felony. But again, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and our governor has weaseled her way into, in theory, absolute power. All right, yesterday we had another oversight hearing, and there's a couple of areas on this. And it was on Sue Aller's bill that would not allow vaccine passports for government regulation. A private business could still say, well, you got to be vaccinated to come in. But my point to that was in the committee. All right, if let's say the store that I want to go into has a sign that says you got to have a vaccine passport, I can choose not to shop there. Just like any business that I see that says gun-free zone, no guns allowed, I don't go in, and I'll never shop there again because that sign's telling me, O'Malley, you can't come in, right? So that's a choice that private business made. I can't. That's their foolishness. But the state, that's another thing. And so my Democratic colleagues were, well, this is a preemptive bill. We don't need it. We don't, blah, blah, blah. Here's the problem. We do need it because absolute power corrupts absolutely. This absolute power governor has used DHHS to create all sorts of crazy rules that are in theory legal for right now as we continue the fight. So this bill, preemptive, that's one of the issues that we have here is, think about this. When 1945 emergency management law was enacted, they never saw into the future where some crazy governor would use it improperly and unconstitutionally, right? They didn't know. When they wrote the DHH epidemic rules, they never knew that there'd be some crazy governor off in the future who would use it to unilaterally create all of these crazy rules. When MIOSHA was given rules for such things, no one knew that they would be trying to back them. So because it wasn't foreseen. Well, here we are saying, wait a minute here. We can foresee the potential here because of the actions of the administration now. So yes, what Sue Aller's bill is exactly what the legislature should do. Says, wait, we do not want this to ever happen where someone has to prove their vaccination to be able to live life. Because what can happen is you can create a two-tier system of people. They don't have vaccinations. They can be discriminated against, right? Oh, you're unclean. We don't want that. And because of the governor's actions, this has proven that we need a preemptive bill so that they can't just say, well, that's part of the DHH epidemic rules. So anybody who says, well, this is preemptive and it's foolish, this is what a legislature is supposed to do. Look ahead and maybe what our past colleagues forgot or didn't even think of a crazy governor. We now have seen where a crazy governor can overuse rules. So we have to prepare for that. And future legislatures have to remember the Whitmer overreach whenever things like this come up. So yesterday's hearing was massive in the sense that, yes, we have to do our job. And I would say this, for those who scream and holler that the legislature isn't doing our job on all these different fronts, why aren't you suing? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? What I think the week prior with Director Gordon and then yesterday's hearing on the vaccine passport elimination bill, if you will, is the legislature doing things. We don't have certain authority. We don't have certain powers. That's up to the Attorney General in a lot of ways. And our Attorney General is doing a crappy job as well. In many ways, much of the weight of non-action falls on our Attorney General because it's her job to investigate. Like this trip to Florida Is she investigating? No, I doubt she will. But, or if it does, it's probably going to be a sham investigation. But you see what I'm saying? That's her job. Our job is to be deliberative and look at rules and that sort of thing. So a week before, we had Director Gordon in and found out that he never had any plan to sue. So that payment of $155,000 and that agreement he signed had no purpose, according to the Constitution of the state of Michigan. That's our interpretation. We did that. Now, will the Attorney General follow up on that? Probably not, and that means it will be up to another group to sue in the courts. But we did our job. We exposed that, all right? Yesterday, we held this hearing, and we are working on legislation to ban vaccine passports. That is the legislature doing its job. So when people accuse us of not doing our job, I would say we are doing everything that we can. And I want people to understand that as we move forward. So I believe our Chair Johnson is planning to vote the vaccine passport bill out of committee next week. I will be a yes vote there. And then I'm sure it will go to the House floor and then have to go over to the Senate, and we'll see what they do with it over there. But we'll keep moving that forward. With regards to the governor's trip to Florida, more and more revelations come out about that. We will do our best on that front to follow up. But some of that's going to be our investigative journalists, our attorney general, if she got offered Duff, might start looking into it. And with the Robert Gordon payment, I think we have some groups that are looking at potential lawsuits. So I want you to know that I wish we weren't in this position. Governor Whitmer has put us in a terrible spot. COVID, of course, opened the door, but Governor Whitmer blew right through it. And here we are today. So just don't ever forget that. Yeah, it'll be interesting. So yesterday's vaccine passport hearing, a lot of passionate discussion, a lot of foolish comment from my Democratic colleagues. You know, a couple of people, I got to say this, and I know I'm going long, but I want to throw this out there. One of my Democratic colleagues said she was disgusted with some of the terminology that was used, especially referring to potential Holocaust scenarios and correlations to the vaccine passport. And the testimony, their comment was that back then, you remember, Jews were separated and created into another group and so on and so forth. Well, that was their analogy to where we're at with the passport. Well, my colleague just thought that was despicable. Well, I'll tell you what's despicable is when all these discussions we're having about election reforms are referred to in racist terms as Jim Crow. When I say I support some type of reform on an election bill, and I'm told that that's Jim Crow, you're saying I'm a racist. Well, guess what? That offends the hell out of me. So, my Democratic colleague, let me tell you, your side has been throwing around those crazy ass terms a hell of a lot longer than those simple citizens were in that committee yesterday. So you can take your thoughts and shove them where the sun don't shine. My opinion. Happy Friday. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day this Sunday, right? Give Mom a hug if you can. All right? Have a good weekend.